AI Audiobooks presents Descent of the Demon God by Honjung Weiliang, chapters 16 through 23. Ep. 16. Scout Offer 4. Blade 6. One of the 5 largest conglomerates in the current Chinese government. Although the world's population plummeted due to the gates, the Blade 6 still boasts overwhelming power and is the number 1 in the world. Last year, it formed a pro-social corporate image and was so well recognized that it was selected as the number 1 company people wanted to join. Oh, sigh. The information which passed through Chun Yaowen's mind was basic information about the Blade 6. Blade, Blood 6 martial clan. All the information was ordinary. However, the Blade 6 he knew was the name of a company from a distant future. This guy is proof. Zhou Yu, Seong in front of him, was proof. Seeing that the head of an affiliated company knows martial arts, that must mean he knows about Murim. Nano, if the time axis is different, is there any chance that the Blade God is still alive? Chun Yaowen asked with a stiff face. Blade God of the Blade, God 6 martial clan, the head of the Blade 6. Nano's voice echoed. It's possible if the user failed to kill the Blade God before entering the time axis. Chun Yaowen wasn't happy about that information. Another possibility. I killed him just yesterday. Chun Yaowen had killed the Blade God in the time jet before falling into this era. If it was his own time, Chun Yaowen would have erased all traces of that clan in a single day. This is one funny situation. Chun Yaowen bit his lip. He couldn't find the Sky Corporation, but he managed to find the Blade God 6 martial clan. Moreover, he was being scouted. Sir? Zhou Yu, Seong couldn't hide his curiosity at the sudden change in atmosphere. His reaction was completely different from the one Zhou Yu, Seong expected from a person about to get hired by a big company. Is there anything that's making you uncomfortable? Zhou Yu, Seong asked. Since Chun Yaowen is an unpredictable character, he was cautious. Did he have a bad experience with the head office? Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a reaction. Chun Yaowen, who had still expression, spoke. What's the name of the company's head? Creepy! A low voice, filled with energy. There was no way Zhou Yu, Seong couldn't feel it. Civilians won't be able to breathe in the lobby. It was shocking. If this man lived his life like this, everyone would have noticed him. He decided to calm down. Ad, if you can tell me why you're... Tell me the head's name. The voice, which was making him weak. Zhou Yu, Seong, who was so nervous that cold sweat broke out, said the name. It's Jiam Seong Ryong. Jiam Seong Ryong? Chun Yaowen frowned. He thought that the name Blade God would come out. The energy disappeared right away. Whoa! Zhou Yu, Seong's legs, which would have given out if it continued, relaxed. What kind of life did he live? He forgot that they were still in the lobby. After barely calming his breath, Li Hyun spoke. I heard that the president of the head office is famous among Urim warriors. Didn't you know? What? Zhou Yu, Seong looked at the lawyer with shocked eyes. He spoke with a carefree expression as if nothing happened. No way. Am I the only one who felt that just now? To live like that, to be able to force enough energy on a person to kill them. Qi is a kind of energy, but when used in high amounts, others can feel it. But Li Hyun didn't feel anything. I must have misunderstood. This man isn't at the beginning of the Superior Master level. He seems to have reached the end of it. Considering Chun Yaowen's age, Zhou Yu, Seong thought that he must be an entry Superior Master. But it seemed like he was wrong. At that time, Chun Yaowen asked Li Hyun, What do you mean by famous? You know that the president of the head office is the vice president of the Murim Association. Vice president? The basic information of the Murim Association, which Nano transferred, naturally popped into his mind. The association consisted of 12 executives with the vice president and president above them. The members of orthodox clans? It was said that the officers of the Murim Association were members of orthodox clans. Although the names of the executives weren't disclosed on the website, officials in the Murim department and other similar fields seemed to know the executives. Blade God 6. No, Blade 6 is working with the orthodox clans. Ha! Amazing! They were by no means orthodox. Rather, they walked on a path closer to violence. If necessary, they didn't mind taking hundreds of lives. You didn't know? No. At the words of Li Haiyun, Chun Yawen shook his head. Since he only acquired basic information, he didn't know this. He doesn't know the president of the head office. I guess he really was a hidden Murim warrior. At Chun Yawen's reaction, Zhou Yu, Xiong thought to himself, if he didn't know the president of the head office, the most prominent figure in Murim, it was speculated that this man must have learned martial arts in a remote place like mountains. Only, he's a little out of control. They couldn't handle Chun Yawen, and Chun Yawen was so strong that he can control his energy exceptionally. For now, try conciliating with him, and if it doesn't work, we have no choice but to leave it to the director. Zhou Yu, Xiong, organized his thoughts. If there's something that's making you uncomfortable, I can postpone the meeting to another. Didn't you say that we'll be meeting with the director of this company? Yes. Chun Yawen still had a stiff face. In the building, there seemed to be more than 100 warriors. Among them, 2 seemed to have a great amount of internal energy. Perhaps one of them is the director. Chun Yawen looked up and found the CCTV cameras installed in the lobby, much larger than the bureau, which meant that the security was tight. Let's figure this place out first. If it was the past, Chun Yawen would have overturned the entire place, because Chun Yawen was the kind to torture people for information, and then kill them once he got what he wanted. However, it was tiring to do that when the Blade God's existence was neither confirmed nor denied. I can't even find my cult. There's no need to draw attention. Chun Yawen, who knew how the current world worked, decided to lay low. Of course, if that didn't work, he would go back to being himself. Fine, I will meet him. Where should I go? La. At his response, Zhou Yu, Xing, exhaled in relief. The 36th floor of the Six Road Toys building. The other floors were divided into departments and employees, but the 36th floor was dedicated to one person. It was because the owner of that floor had great authority. Of course, he wasn't the only one on the floor. 4 beautiful female secretaries and 12 security guards were stationed there. The glamorous office had a private bar. Swipe. There was a man with white hair in his early 40s swinging his golf club. The person who stood politely in front of him was General Manager Zhou Yu Xiyong. That is all, Director. The man was Yun Mun Pyong, the director of Six Road Toys. He was listening to the report. Swipe. He opened his mouth as he kept looking at the golf club. He cut off your hand because you were late. Yes. Quite an untamed bastard. Yun Mun Pyong put the golf club into his golf bag and sat down on the sofa. He sat with his legs crossed and drank his glass of whiskey all at once. And Zhou Yu Xiong spoke. If we can hold his reins properly, he's worthwhile. To be honest, if he has such a high level of skill, it's worth hiring him for the future. Are you saying that he isn't a card we play, then discard? Right. Seeing Zhou Yu Xiong's face, Yun Mun Pyong smiled. How can you even think that after he cut off your hand? You must think that he really is useful. Still, Zhou Yu Xiong was speaking objectively. This was the reason Yun Mun Pyong used him. Good. I'll take a look and judge him, as Manager Zhou said. If he truly is a superior master, it's a waste to use then discard him. Thank you. Zhou Yu Xiong bowed to express his gratitude, and the director gestured for him to hold a meeting. As Zhou Yu Xiong left, Yun Mun Ach Tich, Manager Joe. This time, your eyes were wrong. If he was a superior master, I would have noticed his energy the moment he entered the floor. Director Yun Mun, Pyong, one of the 2 superior masters assigned to this company. In Yun Mun, Pyong's mind, only a superior master can sense another superior master. Of course, considering that this kid was someone in his early 20s and talented, he decided to let Zhou Yu, Seong, bring him in. Shh. Yun Mun, Pyong grabbed the jacket which was on the hanger and put it on. If it was a meeting, he had to look his part. Click! The door opened and someone entered along with Zhou Yu, saying, "Oh ho!" Yun Mun, Pyong was shocked. Seeing Chun Yawen in a historical costume was really shocking. He has never seen anyone grow their hair like that in today's world, except for celebrities. This is Yun Mun, Pyong the director. Zhou Yu, Seong introduced him, and although he reported to him earlier, he spoke to the director. He's the person I mentioned before. Chun Yawen only revealed his first name and not his surname. Originally, he thought about telling them his full name to see the Blade 6's reaction, but he soon changed his mind. I can't give myself away. This wasn't even the main company, and he can't give these lowly people his name. If the Blade God lived in this era, then there's a chance that the Blade God would run away to be cautious. Yun Mun, Pyong reached out for a handshake. Nice to meet you. I'm Yun Mun, Pyong. Since I'm older, I will speak without formalities. Chun Yawen looked at his hand. It was because he wasn't used to Western greeting style. But soon, information popped into his mind, and he shook his hand and said, "Yo Won." Shit! Zhou Yu, Seong's face went stiff. He was meeting the director of a company. The kid should at least use honorifics. He looked at Yun Mun, Pyong, out of curiosity, to see his eyes trembling. He was holding back. As if it didn't bother him, he spoke. Hoo, it seems like the young friend here only learned martial arts and not social norms. I see. For now, let's sit and talk. Yun, Pyong pointed to the sofa. Yu Mun. Pyong sat on the single sofa with his legs crossed and pressed a button on his phone. I have guests. Bring some hot tea. Yes. Director. Not long after, a female secretary in a short skirt came in. After the cups were set down and she left, the director spoke. Please. He took a sip. Chun Yawen, who looked at him, also took a sip from his teacup. The tea was good. It's Longjing tea. I like whiskey more than tea, but this is an exception. He put down his cup and continued. You may have heard this in advance. This company loves talented people. Even talented people without a background like you will be treated fairly and justly. Zhou Yu, Seong frowned. There was supposed to be a briefing, but now the director was talking in his own flow. I don't know if you've heard it. I don't like formalities, and I don't like to talk about the past either. Yun Mun. Pyong reached out towards his desk. A tablet on the desk moved towards the sofa. He was trying to show off his skills. Tok! Tuk! Tok! After Yun Mun, Pyong tapped the tablet a few times. A number was displayed. 3 billion won A, a monetary unit of the Asian Union. It was his arrogant way of showing off 3 billion won. Considering the annual salary of a Murium warrior who has reached the peak of the Supermaster level by the Murium Association standards, 3 billion won is higher. And with that, we also give bonuses for completing missions. Huh, Director, there seems to be some misunderstanding. This person is. When Zhou Yu Seong tried to correct him, the director reached out and stopped him and said, there seems to be some misunderstanding because Manager Zhou has lower skills than you. Even so, at that level, this salary isn't low. The director leaned back, pulled a cigarette out of his pocket, and ignited it. Ha! If you follow orders well and complete the missions you're given, I can become your sponsor. Right now, I'm the director here, but once the company stabilizes, I will return to the head office. He was saying that, rather than keeping his position here, he would return to the main office. The Blade 6 had a reputation that even a kid would know. Exhaling the smoke, he asked, "How is it?" To him, it was an offer that no one would refuse. However, Chun Yao's words were unexpected. "You seem to think that money is everything. From the start, you've talked about missions, but if you want to hire someone, shouldn't you disclose what you're doing?" Ha ha ha. The director, who was speechless, laughed out loud and said, "I see that you don't know your place. Who do you think pulled you out of the bureau? Even if I treat you this nice, you act arrogant until the very end. Ha!" Bang! As the director slammed his palm on the table, the marble table split in half and fell. Sigh. Zhou Xiong sighed. As he thought he would, his director burst out. "Well, whether you sign the contract or not, I need to shorten your reins. You did well." Whack! As soon as his words finished, the director tried to grab Chun Yao's throat. It was then. Grab! Ah! Chun Yao grabbed the director's wrist. Yun Man, Pyong, who didn't expect that, looked at Zhou Xiong. Was he right? From the start, he couldn't sense the kid's energy. Even now, he couldn't feel any energy from him. However, noticing and blocking the attack meant that he was hiding his energy. A guy in his 20s is on par with me? He couldn't believe it. He couldn't reach the beginning stage of the superior master level until he hit his 40s. Displeased, he raised his internal energy and tried to shake off Chun Yao's hand. "Let go!" But, grab. Despite his wrist being let go, he couldn't move. Yun Man, Pyong's eyes went wide. His internal energy is EP 17, the change of guest and owner 1. Even if they were both at the same level, there was a difference in internal energy. Just like how a person who reached the beginning of any level is weaker than a person who reached the end of the same level. Tremble! No matter how much Yunmon, Pyong, the director, tried, he couldn't move. Is he really at the end of the level? If so, this opponent is different. It made sense to give in if the gap was certain, but his position was too high for him to give in. Is this little kid stronger than me? Yun Man, Pyong was a man with great self-esteem. He had pride as a Murim warrior and pride as a member of a large corporation. However, the young man wearing a historical costume in front of him, a person whose full name wasn't even known, was trying to restrain him with internal energy. Woo! A blue light flashed from Yunman, Pyong's left hand. Wong! Seeing that, Zhou Xiong's eyes widened. Sword Kwai! Being a supermaster who reached the end stage, it was obvious to him that the man was using ki. Sword Kui at that. Sword ki was strong enough to act as a sword. Sword Kwai is made by condensing ki, and it boosts the owner's movements. For someone like a superior master, it was a raging weapon. Director Yun must be furious. Zhou Xiong thought that Yun Man. You bastard! Yun Man. Pyong stabbed at Chun Yao's heart with his left hand. The eyes of Yun Mun Pyong, whose self-esteem was broken, could no longer see the talent in front of him. He had to kill Chun Yaon to feel better. Chun Yaon was right in front of him, and at a hand's distance too. He moved at a speed that could kill anyone. But, grab. Yun Man. Pyong's eyes were about to explode. Chi Chick. The blue light on his left hand fluttered like sparks, and then changed shape. The reason was Chun Yaon grabbed his hands. But he was shocked for another reason. To touch Sword Ki with his bare hand. Zhou Xiong couldn't hide his shock. If Sword Ki is touched by bare hands, the flesh will disappear right away. However, Chun Yaon's hand was fine. How? Yun Man. Pyong's voice trembled. He couldn't understand. Chun Yaon spoke to him with the same expressionless face as ever. It isn't something you can understand at your current level. Kuk! Chun Yaowen's hands holding Yun Man. Pyong's left and right hands clenched. Scared, the director shouted. Wow, wait! Crack! Quack! He screamed. It wasn't enough that the right wrist was twisted. The fingers on the left hand were all bent. It was so painful that all the veins on Yun Man, Pyong's head, were bulging out. Quack! You dog! Amid the pain, the director swore. It was then. Whoa! Ah! Yun Man, Pyong, was swept into the air and floated upwards. He wanted to move his body, but he couldn't. Unimaginable energy was trapping him. This is... Even Zhou Yu, Seong, was startled and jumped away. He never dreamed that something like this could happen. It was the first time he has ever seen someone treat Yun Man, Pyong, like a child. Shaking, the man's body trembled. For the first time in his life, he was experiencing fear. Is this a superior master? No, this is a supreme master. It was an unbelievable reality, but he was sure. Who could pressure a superior master like this with only energy? He looked at Chun Yaowen. This is odd. He thought that Zhou Yu Seong was mistaken. Being a superior master in one's 20s, he didn't think it was possible. Body metamorphosis. Body metamorphosis. At a certain level, a warrior's body undergoes reconstruction to suit the energy in their body. If that happens, one will look younger, like 20 or 30. Even the chairman of the Blade, Six, looks like he's in his mid-30s. Despite being over 80. Damn it. How is such a man going around with no data on him? I should have guessed this. When body metamorphosis occurs, everything from the fingerprints changes. In fact, incidents like this happened in the past too. But even if he's a supreme master, to do this to me, a superior master? He was skeptical, as this has never happened to him. But that wasn't the point. The question was how to change the current situation. Calmly, he said, how can a senior treat his junior like this? Start acting like a respectable elder. The director was certain that Yaowen was a false name. To be honest, he could even take a guess at who he was, because there aren't many organizations that are on par with the Blade 6. Are you going to keep your junior tied up like this? Saying that, he glanced at the office door. He thought that since he screamed, the president of 6 wrote toys upstairs, or the security guards would have noticed. Why aren't those jerks coming in? There was no sign of someone coming. He was annoyed when Chun Yaowen said, stop thinking that someone will help you. Ha! No one can hear anything outside the office. No way. The director looked around. Now, he saw the faint glow which enveloped the office. Hey, shit! For the moment he entered, Chun Yaowen soundproofed the room. No one outside could hear or sense what was happening in the room. Chun Yaowen looked around and said, since there are no Sikh thieves here, this is a nice place. At those words, Yun Man, Pyong's face contorted. He had a high position, and he didn't like people invading his privacy, so he didn't have sect thieves in his room. Answer my questions now. Chun Yaowen walked towards him. There was no way that Yun Man, Pyong, could escape, but he had a trump card. Quack, fine. If no one is going to come help me, then I can do it myself. The director bit his lip. Senior, I'm not a stupid person. You must be pretty stubborn, seeing that you aren't discouraged in this situation. Chun Yaowen nodded his head. It has been a long time since he's seen someone speak this strongly despite being in a threatening situation. Yun Man, Pyong shouted. 1 times. What does 1 hour mean? Yun Man, Pyong was taken aback at Chun Yaowen's remark. This man didn't even know what 1 times was. Zhou Yu, Seong, who was uselessly watching from the back, said, it's a poison made by the pharmaceutical company DANG. Poison? Right. The official name is 1 times. 1. The pharmaceutical company DANG was the surviving form of the poison clans in modern times. They were already good at making poison, and then with the introduction of modern technology, they created various types of poisons, and this was the best among them. It was a poison that most people can't detect, and it stays dormant in the body and activates after an hour. Quark, I'm glad I gave you that tea thinking that you might be a superior master. Although he didn't believe the report, he wanted to be cautious in case something happened. He informed the secretary beforehand to poison the tea. In fact, because of the lawsuit which the Murem filed against this poison, they managed to get their hands on it. I don't know if you know about it or not, but it's a deadly poison. So this was why the director was so accommodating. The one time stays dormant for an hour, but there was something more terrifying about it. I don't know if it can be detoxified, but I know that someone like you, who's reached such a high level, wouldn't want their internal energy to disappear. Usually, supermasters can detect the poison, but even if it's detoxified, the poison will consume 30s of one's internal energy while inside the body. If you are a supreme master, then you must value your internal energy. The one times created ripples in the modern Murium because of its abilities. Recognizing the danger, the Murem Association filed a lawsuit against the company. It made sure that they discarded it, or if not, they threatened to destroy the Tang family, as they were still a part of Murem, if they were found making the poison again. However, even if it was banned, the poison which was to be discarded was used to deal with matters covertly. It was worth paying a lot of money to buy it. He bought it, thinking that it would help him at some point, and it did. With a smile, he said, "There's no cancellation. After I call them, you'll be done in 15 minutes. Ah, maybe you're wondering where my phone is. I don't have one. My mind can contact them." Since he never knew what would happen in the world, he considered it a virtue as a Murem warrior to be prepared. In a confident voice he said, "Kay, if you understand, put me down nicely." He thought that he won. The opponent was a supreme master. Sure, there's no way the opponent would back down after being this reckless, but he didn't have another option. Who would want to lose decades of internal energy? "Kay, I will count to 5. How many seconds would it take for the opponent to break?" The situation made the director happy. 1. It was then. With an expressionless face, Chun Yo-won drew his sword. Slash! Ah! Something passed through his right arm. Thud! Something fell on the floor. With a pale face, Jo-yu Seong had his arms tightly against his body. Blood gushed out of the severed shoulder. The director's face turned red as he screamed loudly. Kokek! Kak! This pain was incomparable to when his fingers were broken. He only counted to 1, but for this to happen. Quack! You crazy bastard. Do you think this is okay to do because you're losing your internal energy? You are mistaken. What? At that moment, he held out his hand. Something like black water rose from his palm, forming round drops of water. Did you really believe in something like this? No way. The director was shocked. He really wanted to deny what he was thinking. That was when Chun Yo-won said, "Did you think that I wouldn't know? Creepy." The hair on his body stood up. No way. It had to be impossible. If that poison could be easily detoxified, he wouldn't have paid a huge amount to get it. No way. That can't be done unless you take the antidote. You wouldn't want to believe it. With that, Chun Yo-won stretched out his hand towards him. The black drops of water floated to the director. No! The director was crying in disbelief. However, the energy which was surrounding him fixed his head in place and opened his mouth. Tremble! Quack! Gulp! It entered his mouth and went down his throat. He could even feel it run down his esophagus. Quack! If this really was 1 times, it should be removed right away. Twisting, he tried to puke it out, but Chun Yo-won pressed his blood points. Ta-ta-ta-ta. His body went stiff as his blood points were locked. Quack! Shit! It was like giving him medicine, but blocking his access to it by sealing the bottle cap. With red eyes, Yun-man Pyong stared Chun Yaowen, who sat on the sofa with a smile, and said, 59 minutes left. Ep. 18. The change of guest and owner. 2. Senior seems to be leaving. Let's leave too. Send the blue car behind us first, and then slowly catch up. Yes, yes. By turning the handle, the view of the video slowly moved. It was then, pang! The video rumbled loudly with the sound of something popping. Ki, ik, who? What, Yuk? The camera in the video shook violently, and the screen suddenly shifted. The screen of the video, which couldn't be balanced even after the immediate braking, showed that the car hit the electric pole at the entrance of the hospital. Bang! Ku, quack. As soon as the electric pole was hit, the car's airbags popped out. Damn it! Damn it! What the hell? Click! Click! With the sound of the car door opening, 2 men moved ahead. In the video, the 2 looked at the car's front wheels, and then at the black sedan which was leaving, unable to hold their anger. And this video was playing in real time. The public security director, who looked at the screen, put his hand on his forehead, which was throbbing. How? He didn't think they would be found out, as it hadn't been long since they started pursuing them. Just by looking at the video on the screen, it was clear that the front tires had exploded. I went down there on purpose, and even stamped it to show a favorable attitude. He tried to make them believe, but this only made one thing clear. He's very important to them, and he thought that they had maybe already placed a sniper at the hospital for such things, which meant that the man they took away needed to be brought back. However, Lee Myong, the 3rd team leader of the violent crime squad, couldn't take his eyes off the monitor. He was staring at something. Did you find something? At the director's question, Lee Myong looked away from the monitor. No. What were you looking at, huh? Lee Myong was staring at the man in his late 30s, standing at the hospital's entrance in the video. He was in a navy blue suit, and an old man with a colorful sword was next to him. He is... Director Sang Yu. Jun frowned and looked at Lee Myong. He too has lived in Shenyang for over 30 years. Naturally, he could recognize the face of Mo Yong-yi, son, the executive of a large corporation. Mo Yong-yi. Son, a director of the Yon Company, is at the scene of the incident. The director knew that Yon Company was run by a Myorim family. Now things seemed to be more complicated. He could guess why Lee Myong couldn't take his eyes off the video. However, it wasn't right for a detective who had done the investigation to get caught up in their personal feelings. Director Sang Yu Jun, who tried to give him another chance, decided to change his mind. The 3rd team leader is on sick leave, so you should focus on recovery. Lee Myong was flustered. He was shown the video and asked if he could handle it a second ago. But now the director changed his mind. Biting his lip, the director stroked his chin and pressed the play button for the video when Lee Myong said, If it's because of that person of the Yeon Company, which we had established Elila. I told you to stop! Director, this job is no longer for just those special forces. There was no way Lee Myong would back down. Shaking his head, the director picked up his phone and dialed a number. Lee Myong will be dismissed from his position for a while and suspended for 3 weeks. Tell the front door security to control his access into the bureau. Shocked, Lee Myong tried to approach him. He never expected this to happen. Director! Click. The director hung up the phone and said in a cold voice, Did you not hear me? As of now, team leader Myong has been suspended. Go back to the hospital. Director! No. I have nothing more to say to you. Secretary Lim. Call security. Quick. A force wanted him to be expelled. Lee Myong frowned and said, You can't act like this. Secretary Lim. The director didn't speak to him after that. The director of public security had suspended him. Unable to do anything, Lee Myong left the office. After he left, the director sat in his chair and took a deep breath. Sigh. Frustrated, He picked up a pack of cigarettes which was on the desk. There was something like a small safe under his desk. Nothing can be done, he mumbled as he reached for the safe. Toot, beep, beep, beep. When the fingerprint and password were pressed, the door to the safe opened. There were 5 small, radio-like things in the safe, and the director took the one on the far right and pressed the button. This is Alpha. This is Alpha. Can you hear me? Shortly after, a beep was heard from it. Click! Beta here. I'm listening. The voice of the man on the other side was hoarse. The director asked, Possibility of wiretapping? There is none. Dust arrived in town. Good job. Team leader O is the agent you sent. They're still safe. Click. No problems yet. However, they seem to be psychologically unstable. Right. Is there still no support from the technical team? The director, who was stroking his chin, pressed the button and spoke. The technical team is doing their best. Sigh, Alpha. No, director. It's not about them doing their best. As I said earlier, their condition doesn't seem to be good. Team leader, O said in a serious voice. To that, the director said. The Beijing side said that they found the whereabouts of a former Mrs. Researcher. I'll let you know when something progresses. Click. Understood. But why was I contacted? I'm sending you a file through the secure net, so have an agent investigate that person. It should be there now. With that, the director looked at the monitor. On the screen was a picture of Chun Yo-won sitting leisurely in the interrogation room. This is insane. Jo-yu Seong was losing it. Director Yun-mun Pyong, who was on the sofa with his blood points suppressed, kept trying to say something with his eyes. He could guess what it meant. Director. He wanted to help too, but even if he wanted to help, he couldn't move. It wasn't that he was being suppressed, but it felt like he would end up like the director if he moved. Jo-yu Seong glanced at a clock hanging in the office. 30 minutes have passed. We are running out of time. If he was this nervous, then the director must be losing it. According to him, if the time it would take to get the antidote is included, the director has 15 minutes until it's guaranteed that the poison will spread. Evil bastard! Jo-yu Seong looked at Chun Yo-won, who was sitting at the desk. Naturally, he wanted to suppress the poison, so he thought Chun Yo-won would get something out of the situation and then leave. However, he didn't move and kept them from moving. Thanks to that, time passed, and the director was becoming more and more impatient. Damn it! And he even used the poison to threaten them. This was torture. What is he up to? Chun Yo-won was at the desk, looking at Yun-mun. The company's computers were protected, so no one else could figure out how to access them, which meant Chun Yo-won was wasting his time. Of course, even hackers would have a hard time cracking this account of the Blade 6. But Chun Yo-won had Nano. The search for all files in the storage device has been completed. Multiple PDF files appeared on the screen of the monitor. If those two saw this, they would faint right away. Almost everything was business data, and a few things were related to the 6 road toys. No, this material can be excluded. This wasn't the material Chun Yo-won wanted. He wanted the Blade 6's Murim-related documents, or anything like that. Nano, connected to the computer, quickly sorted the data and searched for it, but unexpectedly, no materials on Murim were there. Maybe they have a strict protocol. He expected to see some when he searched, but this was unexpected. It was as if the Murim material was being kept hidden. If they had kept it in a secure file, Nano would have figured it right away. Did Nano say that files are kept in USPs? Right. Then we will have to look for that. Chun Yo-won got up from the desk and went near Yun-mun. Pyong. Is it finally starting? Jo-yu Seong, who thought that the conversation would come, turned his gaze away. Since Chun Yo-won couldn't get anything from the computer, now he might talk or use torture on them. It was then. Wow. Yun-mun Pyong on the sofa was screaming. What is he trying to do? Yun-mun Pyong, who was on the verge of going crazy, panicked as Chun Yaowen came closer. Not caring, Chun Yaowen reached out. Something amazing happened. Things that were in Yun Man, Pyong's pants and jacket pockets, came out into Chun Yaowen's palm. From business cards to all the small things. Pak! Even the flexible smartphone on his wrist came off too. So did his ring. Only then did he realize Chun Yaowen's purpose. He's looking for the USB. Since he couldn't get the data from the computer, he was looking for other ways. No. Yun Man, Pyong was shocked. It wasn't because his phone was taken away. It didn't matter. The security application was installed on his phone too, and the important files would be deleted if someone tried to enter. Please don't notice it. He kept praying. He tried to act like he didn't care. So no more problems would crop up for him. That was when Chun Yaowen threw away almost everything in his hand and kept the smartphone and another thing. Ho! The small robot figure. It was the size of a little finger, but Yun Man, Pyong's eyes shook. How? He never thought that Chun Yaowen could find it. The figure contains a security card chip. As a result of analyzing the chip's code, it is used to unlock a device with a specific password. It was a cute way to trick people. Who would think that a toy would be so important? So this toy is the key to unlocking something? Yes. Chun Yaowen looked around. Unlocking something? How am I supposed to find it? Place your palm in front of you and slowly turn to the right. I will scan. At Nano's words, Chun Yaowen did what it asked. Something like a red laser flashed from his palm. Both victims were shocked. What? What is this now? It was a light, different from key. It seemed more like the laser which is used to scan barcodes. At that moment, a strong sound entered Chun Yaowen's mind. Beep, beep. Augmented reality opened up right away and a place was marked. At the place was a picture frame which was hanging. In it was a picture of Yun Man, Pyong wearing a suit, and Chun Yaowen walked towards it. Shit. The director was shocked. He didn't realize that this man had special equipment. When Chun Yaowen placed the toy in front of the frame. Beep! Wheeing. The glass frame opened sideways like an automatic door with a sound. Inside was a hidden safe. How is that bastard doing all of this? Even an international spy would have a hard time figuring their security methods out. But this man didn't even doubt anything. The last line of defense was fingerprint recognition and a password. Of course, if the man is this skilled, he can open the safe by breaking through, but then security will be notified. He wished Chun Yaowen would do that, but obviously, he wasn't stupid enough to do that. This man was too smart for them to understand. Damn it! For the fingerprint, he could cut off a finger, but the password was something that was in his head, so he couldn't get that. Yun Man. Pyong's gaze turned to his watch. 8 minutes left. In the end, there were two choices. Either live by giving up the password, or keep the secrets and die. Shit. He kept swearing. His heart was troubled. He always said that he would give his life for the sake of company. But when the moment came, he wanted to hold on to his life. Director, please don't do it. Joyu. Seong shook his head. If he decided to hold on to his life and give up the password, something important would be revealed. However, Yun Man, Pyong was determined to live. Fuck, I have accomplished too much to die here. In the end, he decided to negotiate with Chun Yaowen. He tried to speak. Yoop! Yoop, 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 yoop. Me. Look at me. Look at me. It was then. Wing! Click. The door opened without the fingerprint and password. Even more shocking was the security alert, which didn't ring. This can't be. It was then that Yun Man, Pyong, decided it wasn't worth trying to think of any answers. Ep. 19. The change of guest and owner. 3. The inside of the safe was divided into an upper and lower section. There was something like a carrying case in the lower part and a single sheet of paper on the upper part. It didn't seem like there was anything amazing inside. Is the USB in this bag? Chun Yawen, who was about to open the bag, was concerned with the single piece of paper, so he took it. Shh. At that moment, Nano's voice said, "Wireless receiving printer and incinerator are detected on the upper part of the safe." Incinerator? When the safe is forcibly opened, fire is emitted and the contents are automatically incinerated. The safe didn't just have an emergency alarm. If forcefully opened, everything inside will be destroyed. The safe has level 1 traps. What is a receiving printer? A device that receives a signal from outside and prints it. Is it getting a signal from outside? Can you track it down? It uses its short-range wireless technology, so it can only be tracked when the printer is operating, as it is a method that sends and receives a signal within 2 km. So it wasn't a long distance. It meant that someone who came close to the company or within it could send a signal. Chun Yawen bit his tongue. In this era, try to avoid being tracked. This isn't easy at all. In the end, in order to trace the one signaling the printer, he had to use the printer. He thought he would have to wait until Nano came up with a solution. "I will print the data from the wireless signaling device, registered in the printer, and its radio signal can be detected if the person is within a 2 km vicinity." Ho! Oh! Then there was no need to be there. In terms of technology, the 7th generation Nano machine overwhelms the current era. Printing the data didn't take long. Chun Yawen pulled out paper and looked at it. He wondered what important information would be on it, but there were 4 things that looked like instructions on the paper. As a result of the requested investigation, the probability of a spy is 80. Team 7 should be removed. Secure the 3rd team leader of the Violent Crime Squad, Moyong Lee Myong. From February 23rd to 24th, Gate 26, warning is scheduled. Be sure to destroy the confidential internal data. Reviewing the report on the operation to assassinate the executive director of the Yon Company, which was taken to the upper level. Payment is due before Gate Warning 26. At the bottom were the words Blade 6 and its logo seal. Now, pretty secret stuff was revealed. The shadow of a pro-social conglomerate was exposed, from assassination to kidnapping and spying. "So, this is what you guys are." Chun Yawen smiled. The Blade 6 was the same as their past version. They were wearing the mask of a good guy who didn't act out of character. "I got something nice. If this was released to the world, the Blade 6, including the 6 road toys, will be severely damaged." Chun Yawen folded the paper and put it into his sleeve. He checked the safe, but there was no direct information about the Blade 6. Chun Yawen's hand naturally went to the lower section. There was a lock on the case. "Fingerprint recognition needed." "Is that so?" Chun Yawen extended his hand. The severed right arm of Yunman, Paiyang, which was on the ground, was brought in. He put the thumb of the severed arm on the scanner. Click! The case opened. Chun Yawen frowned. He was hoping for a USB, but unexpected things were in it. "What is this?" Chun Yawen picked up one of the items. A syringe the size of a palm, made of silver metal and thick glass. The liquid inside was blue. "Nano, do you know what this is?" There was one more syringe. Originally, there were a total of 10, but there were 8 empty slots. "Let's scan." A red light emanated from his right palm, which was holding the syringe. When the scan was done, Chun Yawen's eyes trembled a little as augmented reality opened. There were 1,000 things inside the liquid. "These are nanobombs. They have been enlarged so that the user can see." Nano bombs? The tiny invisible balls inside the liquid were called nanobombs. Chun Yawen questioned it. "Nano. So have nanomachines like yours been developed at this time?" Although medical nanotechnology is common, it takes another 200 years of technological development to properly secure nanotechnology equipped with A. In this era, nanomachines weren't developed. Nanotech was started in 2015, and it slowly reached the level of making simple devices. Of course, even if they're lacking compared to nano, the nanobombs are still great. Chun Yaowen turned off augmented reality and looked at the syringe. Near the metal of the syringe, a red ring and a small engraving of the English letters Mrs. were there. That is the name of the nanobombs. The English letters Mrs. were engraved on the side of the terminal, inside the case too. It must have been the logo of the company which made it. What is this? At Chun Yaowen's question, Nano scanned it. The signal code that triggers the nanobombs is registered. The purpose of the terminal was revealed. A button that detonates the bombs. Half of the terminal was a monitor, and 10 little colored buttons were sticking out. Chun Yaowen pressed the red button. Push! A red circle appeared on the monitor. Would you like to launch the nanobombs? Yeah. The touchscreen indicator appeared. It was showing to explode the bombs. Chun Yaowen looked at the syringe he was holding, and the other one in the case. The metal part on the syringe had a different color. The terminal could detonate the nanobombs in the 10 syringes. Chun Yaowen understood it. It was then. Yup, yup, yup. At that time, the bloody cry of Yun Mun. When Chun Yaowen turned his head, the man's face was wet with cold sweat, and he blinked at the watch. Chun Yaowen looked at the time and understood why he was acting like this. 1 minute left. After 1 minute, there would be 15 minutes before the 1 times poison starts spreading. Yun Mun, Pyong was losing it. If the antidote isn't brought within 15 minutes, he will die. Yup 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 yup. Yup yup yup. Please save me. I don't want to die. His wails and eyes were conveying what he was trying to say. Chun Yaowen stared at him and then approached. Yun Mun, Pyong was shocked. This was the moment where Chun Yaowen would decide if the man lives or dies. Please, please. It was then. Pop back! His blood points were released, and he could move again. And, my voice. He even began to lose blood. Chun Yaowen gave him something with a puzzled expression. The smartphone he had taken away. Call them, and tell them to bring the antidote. Even if the safe wasn't opened, negotiations weren't made. Yun Mun, Pyong was confused. Then Chun Yaowen asked, Do you want to die? No. Shocked, the man immediately tapped something and dialed a number. If he didn't hurry, he could be in danger. Toot, the dial tone. Yun Mun, Pyong bit his lip. Answer the call! Answer! The dial tone was going on for too long. Around 10 beeps. Click. Yes, Director. This is Ho Zhong. The face of Yun Mun, Pyong brightened up at the voice. A convenience store, about 800 meters away from the 6 Road Toys building. Thud. In front of the checkout counter, someone put a basket of drinks, sweets, and cup noodles. The female employee started scanning the items. It seemed like it would take a while, since there was only one employee. Please do it quickly. The female employee grunted. He was a handsome man in his early 30s, with short, shaggy hair and a spot under his right eye. Handsome or not, the employee spoke in a dissatisfied voice. Listen here, sir. Because every product is different, it takes time to scan the barcodes. Please, there are a lot of shady people who want to hurry. The man pointed to the back where a middle-aged man wearing a grey coat and sunglasses stood. H. Maybe the man felt the gaze of the woman. He shook his head and went to the shelf where the books are kept and looked at the magazines. If you don't mind, I can put the items in the bags myself. Yes. The female employee handed him 5 paper bags. The young man took the paper bags. He put in the items as the woman scanned the items. A piece of paper the size of his palm was received by the young man. Small letters were written on it. An application to cancel the mission isn't allowed. The technical support team is doing their best." The young man frowned at the message. Out of frustration, he crumpled the paper and rolled it over the counter. When one bag was done, the young man took out another paper bag to put the drinks in. Added a new mission. Investigate the following profile. "What the fuck?" The young man groaned. It was the third time he requested for the mission to be cancelled, but ignoring that, they kept giving him new orders. How did I end like this? The young man crumpled the paper and glanced behind him. The man who was looking through the magazines was constantly looking at him. He was being watched. "Hiya, I'm going crazy." He was getting irritated. At first, his smartphone and belongings were inspected. But suddenly, 2 days ago, a team leader stayed with him for almost 24 hours. Damn, are they saying that it's okay if I die? Damn the public security. He was being watched, so he acted like everything was fine, but he couldn't take it any longer. The situation was difficult enough, and now he was more concerned about how things would go. If it wasn't for it. Fuck. Shit. Cunt. All he could do was curse. After throwing away the paper, he put the cookies into the next bag, and then pulled out the photo inside it. What? A historical drama? A photo of a man with long hair and old-fashioned clothes. In the middle of the photo, the person's name was written. What should be investigated out this guy? Ha! The young man looked at the photo, memorized it, and rolled it down the counter. Within 3 minutes of scanning, all the information was relayed. It's 43,521. Yes. He bought a lot to pass the time, but it seemed like he bought too much. The man used his fingerprint to unlock his smartphone and used electronic pay to complete the checkout at the employee's words. Team leader, it's done. The young man came out of the store with 4 bags in his arms. After that, the harsh-looking man called the team leader came out and put his hand in one of the bags and took out a drink. Why was it so slow? I bought a lot. The young man answered with a smile. At that, the team leader tapped the young man's forehead and warned. Jeong-jong. So, I have warned you to not do anything suspicious. Don't forget that I'm watching your every move. The young man, Jeong-jong, So's face went stiff. He was annoyed with the warning, but decided not to show it. Understood. If I find anything a little suspicious, you know what will happen, right? That thing in your body will go boom, bang. The team leader gestured as if something was exploding. Jeong-jong, So's face darkened. Damn it, I should have never entered this job. The regret was overwhelming. At that moment, something caught his eyes. Team leader? A call? Light flashed on the smartphone. Seeing that, the team leader said, I forgot to turn off silent mode. The call seemed important. Yes, Director, this is Ho Zhong. His name was Ho Zhong. Listening, his expression turned stiff. Understood. I will bring it right away. Click. He hung up the call. This is strange. Did something happen? No. Newcomers are coming in, but why did he say it like that? Normally, the director would speak calmly, but now it seemed like he was rushing. Is it because the new ones are strong? Jeong-jong so knew the joining process, the dirty things that the director does. Despite Jeong-jong So's words, the team leader still felt like something was off. Since we don't know, follow me. Yes, me too. It was a surprise, as he never asked for Jeong-jong So to come along. Ah, if new ones came, that means the director must have opened that case. Hopefully, he will be able to see the safe this time. Follow me. Understood. They both ran to the car. At the same time, the room on the 36th floor of the 6 Road Toys. Right. Hurry. Click. Click. After calling the man and asking for the antidote, the director sighed. If it had been a little later, his life would have been in danger, or he would lose internal energy. What is he planning? It was concerning how Chun Ye-won decided to let him take the antidote without any negotiations. Chun Ye-won must want something. Otherwise, This sly man wouldn't let them off the hook so easily. "I'd give anything away." Looking at him, he asked, "I'm grateful that you let me have the antidote, Senior." It was then. Something was sucked into Chun Yo-won's hand. That was when something happened. Puck! Ack! Chun Yo-won injected something into his neck. Seeing that, Yun Mun, Pyong's eyes widened. The blue liquid had nanobombs inside it. Quack! Ah, nu-oo! Despite the scream, the liquid entered his body. This was a more desperate time than when the one-time's poison was in his body. Chun Ye-won smiled. "Thank you. From now on, you are mine. This color is..." He couldn't speak. He saw the terminal controlling the bomb in Chun Yo-won's hand. Smiling, Chun Yo-won reached out into the case. The remaining syringe was sucked into his right hand. Chun Yo-won looked at the ceiling and asked, "The one above you's up there." EP 20. The change of guest and owner. 4. The 40th floor of the 6 Road Toys building. The top floor was where the president of the office was located, his own dedicated space. Someone was answering the call at the desk of the president's office, which boasts a luxurious interior exceeding the 36th floor. A dark-skinned bald man in his early 50s, the president of the 6 Road Toys, Yeom-ki Seop. Like Yun Mun Peyong, he was dispatched to this place and reached the superior master level. Judging by the thickness of his upper body and arms, he looked exceptionally bulky. He looked like he trained his body. "What? We got an emergency order from the head office? I think you should come down and see. I get it. See you at my office." Click. With those words, Yun Mun Peyong hung up the call. As a result, the expression of Yeom-ki Seop was distorted. He was annoyed with the attitude of the director, who hung up on the president. Bang! Bang! He slammed his fist on the desk and muttered, "Damn it, he seems to have forgotten who the boss is. I don't understand why the head office installed the safe in Director Yoon's office and not mine." The safe was usually placed in the head's office. However, sometimes it was installed in the director or other executive's office. This made him feel less like the boss. Look at his words. "I won't believe it unless it's from the direct line to the head office." President shook his head. Originally, he was the president of Essex Toys, a small business. In Old Murim, it would be something like the Fist of the Sea King. He was the president of the 6 Road Toys, an affiliate of the Blaze 6, because his company merged with the largest conglomerate in Murim. In the end, this is what it's like being part of the company that controls public opinion. The Blade 6 is a popular, pro-social enterprise. As such, it takes a lot of measures to keep themselves in the same position. In the end, that was the reason why Ki Seop was appointed as the president of the merged company and the president of the current affiliate too. He had no choice but to follow the head office's decisions. When he was transferred here, he had a small glimmer of hope that the safe would be in the president's office. Click. He opened the door of his office and came out. When the president appeared, all the secretaries stood up. "No need. Sit." "If you are moving, we will accompany you, sir." It was natural for the assistants to follow the president. However, Yeom-ki Seop waved his hand and said, "Director Yoon has an urgent report, so I'm heading down." Ah. The secretaries nodded in agreement. They roughly knew how the company worked. There were rumors circulating that the real power was in the hands of the director. These people. The president was even more annoyed with their attitude. These people hurt his pride more than the director's words, so he just decided to move alone. But from a certain moment on, the secretaries too knew that the president had no power in his hands. He went out and pressed the elevator button. Soon, the elevator from the 36th floor arrived on the 40th floor. This also makes a lot of sense. This elevator was supposed to only be used by the president, but now he was sharing this with the director too. "Dog shit bastard! Let me catch you." He hoped that the director would make one big mistake, at least once, so that he could use it as a way to sabotage the director. The president had the confidence to apply pressure on the matter if he could find a mistake, as he was superior in every level. Ding dong! While he mumbled, he arrived on the 36th floor. After passing through the usual hallway and arriving at the front of the secretary's office, he saw two familiar faces. Ah, President! A man wearing a coat took his sunglasses off and said hello, and a young man with shaggy pants and a spot on his face bowed. He called them too. The president was displeased. He knew them. Not the man in his early 30s, but the ugly one with the sunglasses. A hidden team that carried out secret missions by the headquarters directives. I told them to refrain from entering and leaving the office because of the eyes which see them, but they ignored my words. These people weren't the employees of the company. It was risky to call these two into the company. It has been a while, Team Leader Ho. Siop smiled, but actually sent a message. I told you to refrain from coming and leaving the company in broad daylight. Didn't the director tell you? At that, Ho Zhong replied, No, I did hear that. But this time I had no choice but to come. Ho Zhong showed a carrying case. President Siop frowned. He couldn't have not known that. Antidote! Director Yun had a dirty way of doing things, which was why the performance of the people he brought was higher than others. Right? Weren't we getting a new member to the team today? It must have been difficult to use the 1 times on team member number 3. These teams, the people in them, had higher skills than normal Murim warriors. Most of the people with clean records were brought in and then selected, and there were many who had extremely high self-esteem. Even those people became obedient to Director Yun, starting with 1 times. Then the nanobomb planted in their bodies made it impossible for them to not give in. President, the director said it was urgent. Can we enter first? They were about to enter the office. At those words, the president nodded and said, I too have something to discuss with Director Yun, so let's go together. Yes, sir. It didn't matter, since the president knew what was happening. When he entered the secretary's office, the female employees stood and greeted them. Even if he didn't have power, he still had the title. President, why are ya? Director Yun called me. Didn't he tell you? Oh, no. We didn't hear anything about that. He's in an interview right now. At those words, the president clicked his tongue. He called and didn't even bother informing the secretaries. Yom Ki, Siop didn't know who the boss was. It seems like Director Yun forgot. This happens a lot, right? At his words, the secretaries were at a loss for what to do. Of course, if the president went in, the director would be angry. I will inform the director right now that you are here. Just a secco. No, he called me for the interview, so I will head in. Quam. Ah. With that, the president began to walk. Realizing how he must be feeling, the secretary stayed silent, not saying anything, and decided to call the director and inform him. Click! The president opened the door and entered the office. Ho, Zhong, and Jium Zhong so followed. Jium Zhong, so the last one in, closed the door. Since the antidote wasn't given, the injection wasn't given, right? His only purpose here was to learn the password of the safe. He saw the director unlock the secret safe when he was given the injection. Director Yun's office was quite large, so they would have to walk through a small hallway. There was a presence of 3 people inside. The president, Yom Ki. Siop clicked his tongue. Starting from the stable breath of one person to the unstable energy of another. No matter how much I say it, he ends up using it too much. The smell of blood was clear. As soon as he passed the hallway, his footsteps stopped. What the hell is this? He couldn't hide his dismay. As he entered the corner and turned left, he saw a severed arm lying on the floor next to Yun Mun. Did he cut off an arm? Is the director out of his bloody mind? The face of the president hardened as he turned his head and looked at the sofa. He doubted his own eyes. It was the same for those behind him. Die, director. Shockingly, the director's arm was cut off. It was hard to guess what happened. At that moment, the director shouted, "Ho Jiong, the antidote!" His usual arrogant and confident appearance erased all their doubts. However, the cold sweat and bloodshot eyes didn't seem good. What did he? Jiumjong, So's eyes widened. He saw a young man with long hair and historical clothes seated on the sofa. It was Chun Yaowen. It's him, the one he was supposed to investigate. Even if he didn't remember the face, the clothes were all he needed to identify him. The person I had to investigate is the new recruit. But the situation was weird. It was the complete opposite of what anyone would think. Director Yun Mun. Pyong shouted to them, who were all dumbfounded by the situation they were witnessing. "What the fuck are you doing? Give me the damn antidote." "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Team leader Ho Zhong was at a loss for words. He knelt next to the sofa where the arm was cut off. "Damn it! Click!" He hesitated for a moment, but he had the antidote, so he tried to open the case, but President Yom Ki, Siop, stopped him. "Why? Why?" To the puzzled man, the president shook his head and asked, "What happened, Director Yun?" The others couldn't see, but his lips had a subtle smile. He was happy that the director was suffering. He always behaved so arrogantly. He desperately wanted the director to make a mistake, and now his wish was granted. It was fun until he looked at Chun Yaowen. The energy. It was the energy of a supermaster. However, the fact that Yun Mun, Pyong, a superior master, was like this meant that his energy was concealed, probably the same level or higher. He couldn't imagine that a person who looked to be in his early 20s was beyond that, and he thought that if they worked together, this young one could be suppressed. Well, I don't think that is necessary, if he ingested the 1 times. That was when Yun Mun, Pyong, yelled, "What are you doing? Ho Jong, give me the bloody antidote!" When he thought about it, surely the director was his supervisor, and the antidote had to be given, but it seemed dangerous to give it to him without knowing what happened. That was when President Yom Ki, Siop said, "Stop it, Director Yun. I know you are troubled. Trying to use the antidote on him because you got caught by him. Your judgment must be seriously messed up." What are you even saying?" "Stay still. You are making a fuss over things which will resolve naturally over time." At those words, the director frowned. This bastard. Apparently, the president misunderstood the situation. He thinks that Chun Yaowen is poisoned. Although his pride hurt, he was running out of time. With full strength, Yun Mun, Pyong said, "Who? It isn't him." "Isn't him? Your arm is cut off, and now you suddenly act like I've ingested the poison." "What?" The president, who was smiling, went stiff. He thought that Chun Yaowen was poisoned, but this was absurd. What nonsense! It was then. Ack! The case that Ho Zhong was holding flew out of his hand, and then it moved and fell in front of Director Yun. Tuck! "Oh, how? Ho Zhong was shocked as he looked at Chun Yaowen. He must have done it. Thank you, Senior. Click. Thanking Chun Yaowen, Director Yun opened the case, took out the brown syringe, and pushed it into his thigh. His anxious face resolved with that. It was a situation where, if he was 1 minute late, the poison would have started to spread throughout his body. Damn it! The eyes of the president, who recognized the danger, turned bitter. This man had to be subdued. "Key!" Siop shouted. "I'll take the lead. Back me up. That." As soon as he said that, he approached Chun Yaowen, who was sitting on the sofa. Jick. As soon as he raised his arm, his jacket sleeve swelled up, revealing his strong muscles. Quick suppression. Knowing that the opponent was on the same level as them, He had to move fast and one step ahead. A blue light shone from Yom-ji, Seop's fist key, the 7th technique of the Fist of the Sea King. His hand went for Chun Yaun, aiming to kill him. Since he was making the first move, he thought that the opponent would do something. But it was strange. Why is he still? It was then. Chun Yaun raised his palm and lowered it. Kwong! Ak! An unimaginable energy pressed down his body. What energy! This wasn't something he could endure. Both knees of the president dug into the office's marble floor. Quach! Quah! Tremble! It was of no use trying to stand up. It was then he knew. He isn't a superior master. What kind of a superior master could do this to a person of the same level with a single gesture? This is only possible with overwhelming capabilities. Who are you? At that question, Chun Yaun said something else. Thank you for coming this close to me. What? Puck! Ak! Something touched his neck. It was like something was being injected into his body. What are you doing? Flustered, Yong-ki, Seop wanted to shake it off, but he couldn't. And then it fell. Seeing what fell, the president went stiff and scared. The nanobomb syringe. The blue liquid in the syringe was empty. How? The injection. It's supposed to be in the safe. He was too flustered to even say anything. But then he heard someone laugh. That person was Yun Mun, Pyong, the director, who was kneeling near the sofa. Ep 21, Unexpected News 1. Yon Company, which was located in the eastern part of Shenyang City, in the executive director's office on the 42nd floor of the office building. A man in his late 30s, in a navy blue suit, was working at his desk, concentrating on something. The man was Moyong-yi, son, the successor and executive director of the company. As he flipped through the touchscreen on the desk, he saw portraits. The pictures files on the screen had two things in common. The first thing they had in common was the distance from which the photos were taken. And the second was Zhou Seong. Most of the photos had Zhou Seong, the general manager and head of the Human Resources Department at 6 Road Toys, in them. Of course, besides Zhou Seong, there was also a man in a jacket and sunglasses. But it was difficult to find that person's identity. Basic information was obtained, but they couldn't find another connection with the one called Ho Zhong. He must be someone related to Myorim, but he didn't seem to be registered as a Myorim warrior in the state council. 8 people like this. A total of 8 people. Those who Zhou Seong came in contact with recently, 8 unregistered Myorim warriors. For 3 months, Zhou Seng had been gathering that kind of person. It would be nice if we could plant someone from our side in them. Moyong-yi, son, made contact with those who manipulated their identities. But all attempted contacts failed. One wasn't skilled enough, and the other committed suicide in danger of being found out as a spy. As he flipped through the pictures, the last picture had come up. A black sedan, exiting the public security, the vehicle of Zhou Seong. And the photo was snapped in the morning. Tak! Moyong-yi, son, tapped the photo with his finger. The missing 9th guy. They hadn't missed a single one. The reason was that he had been monitoring the actions of Zhou Seong for 4 months. Except when entering the company's building or his home. Every other place has been marked. At that time, public security was involved. Sigh. The reason the last one was missed was because of the public security's jamming system. Thanks to the waves that format the files on recording devices, all the photos of the 9th man taken by his men were deleted. There was only one piece of information. Long hair and clothes seen in historical dramas. That wasn't enough information. They at least had to have a description of the face. The matter was becoming complicated. Beep! A female secretary's voice came from the phone. Director, you have a guest. Guest? Although his schedule was empty until the late afternoon, this should be his only free time. He was puzzled when he heard that. Wait if you go. Click! Then someone opened the door and entered his office. Li Mayong. He was the third team leader of the Public Security's Violent Crime Squad, Li Myong. At the unexpected appearance of the person, Moyong Yi Sun abruptly closed the screen and got up. Why are you here? Shouldn't you be in the hospital? Li Mayong frowned at Yi Sun's words. He hadn't even informed his own mother that he was hurt, but this man seemed to know that he was hospitalized. In a displeased voice, he said, Are you keeping an eye on me? Is this how you talk to your older brother? Do you think I go and dig up information on you in my spare time? He just found out by chance. Moyong Yi Sun had been informed that Li Mayong was shot while his men took pictures of the ninth man. Don't speak rubbish. Since when were you my older brother? If you thought of us as brothers, you wouldn't have left me. Clench! He was about to reach out to Li Mayong in anger, but then at the words he heard, Yi. With a cold face, which regained his reasoning, he said, It's a waste to use my hand against trash that can't even perform martial arts. This time, Li Mayong's eyes were cold. To say that he can't perform martial arts when it's a trauma for him. Sarcastically, Moyong Yi Sun asked, Fine. What is the leader of the Public Security Bureau doing here? Zhou Yu, Siyong, Yunman. Moyong Yi Sun frowned at those names. These names weren't something that a violent crimes detective should mention. This wasn't a special unit. This morning, Zhou Yu, Seong borrowed power from director Yun Mun, Pyong of the Six Road Toys, and took a suspect who was under investigation. And what? Don't act cheeky. I saw you at University Hospital, where the man stopped. What the hell were you up to? What? At Li Mayong's words, Moyong Yi Sun was flustered. It seemed like Li Mayong thought Moyong Yi Sun was related to them. Rather, it seemed like he wanted Moyong Yi. The RV that was in that accident belonged to the Public Security. They too seemed to be tracking Zhou Yu Seong. But thanks to this, he learned something he didn't know. And Li Mayong continued to talk. The recent business partnership between the Yeon Company and the Six Road Toys has been in the news for quite a long time. If there is something you are hiding, reveal it now. With a look of displeasure, Moyong Yi Sun opened his mouth and spoke to Li Mayong, who was acting like he was conducting an interrogation. Don't cross the line. Trust the information, but don't overdo it. Are you threatening me? What good will a businessman like me get from threatening a government official? If you want to know stuff, get a warrant first. Li Mayong frowned at the word warrant. As he was suspended, he wasn't even a detective right now. And if he acted out right now, things would become messy for him. In the end, he was at a disadvantage. This guy right in front of him is anxious, and he won't stand back from biting Li Mayong if he has the chance because of the competition of successors. After all, they share the same bloodline. Giving up, Li Mayong turned around. That was when Moyong Yi Sun said, Seeing that you don't have a warrant, it seems like you are doing things your own way, but I'm warning you. What? Moyong Yi Sun warned Li Mayong, who turned back. Zhou Yu Seong, no, the director, Yun Mun, Pyong, is a very dangerous man. If you don't want to lose your life, stop digging for information and get away from this investigation. At the same time, the room on the 36th floor of the Six Road Toys building. Someone politely handed Chun Yawan, who was on the sofa, something. The dangerous man Yun Mun, Pyong. You aren't fooling around, right? No, never, senior. With only his left arm, he handed over a few sheets of warm A4 papers that had just been printed. They were from the Blade 6. Damn it! Even though he wasn't saying it out loud, Yun Mun, Pyong was miserable inside. The situation was reversed. These were the people who tried to use Chun Yawan as a consumable. They ended up being in a situation where they knelt and bowed to him. Shit. Yun Mun, Pyong turned his gaze to the right armrest of the sofa, which Chun Yaowen was sitting on. On it was the control terminal of the nanobombs. If Chun Yaowen pressed the button, he and the people inside the room would die as he would explode. It was then someone kneeling on the side of the sofa carefully opened his mouth. I don't know if you saw any material you like. There are also quite a lot of things on my personal C in my office. Be quiet. Yes. At Chun Yaowen's sharp words, the president of the Six Road Toys went silent right away. He who tried to act out at the beginning of the situation began to try and please Chun Yaowen. However, it wasn't an easy task for him, who always stood at the top, to act this way. Looking at that, Director Yun Mun, Pyong shook his head. This sly bastard. Yong-ki, Siop was so annoyed that the veins on his forehead bulged. Who caused all of this? If such a thing were happening, any man with common sense would try to relay that a problem had arisen, even if it meant losing his life. However, as if what happened to him wasn't enough, he dragged the president into the same situation. Maybe the director felt the anger of the president. He turned his head away and coughed. Whether he saw it or not, Chun Yaowen was looking through the material. The materials handed to him by Yun Mun, Pyong, were related to the Blade 6's Murim clan. The Blade 6 managed the clan by dividing it into direct and merged groups. Of the 87 affiliates, 13 of them are merged, and there are 74 recognized executives in the Blade 6. On the back of the documents were the names of the affiliates and the presidents. Yun Mun, Pyong, a man who desired to reach the top, had a close relationship with them. His purpose was to become the 75th executive. If it wasn't for this accident, he might have become the youngest executive in the Blade 6. Do you have any information about the head office? According to the document, 6 main executives were leading the head office, and the chairman was the center of the Blade 6. However, the information about anything except the affiliates was missing. There was a picture of the chairman's face attached to the very back of the document, but that was something Chun Yaowen already knew. He isn't the Blade God. It was a different face. Even in his era, the Blade God had once made a person named the Blade Lord the head of the Blade God 6 Martial Clan and pulled the strings from behind, which meant that the data now couldn't be trusted. What about those executives? Those 6 executives at the head office are among the other executives. Only the 7 presidents, who belong to the major business divisions, can be seen at the shareholders' meetings. At Yun Mun, Pyong's words, Chun Yaowen looked at Yong-ki, Siop. It has been only a few months since we merged. Ours is a new affiliate. At the word merged, he lowered his head with a bitter expression. In reality, other than what Yun Mun Pyong could give, there was nothing that the president could offer. The information about the clan is different. Still, it was better than not knowing anything. And now was the time to ask real questions. If these were the Blade God 6 Martial Clan's descendants, they would have fought with the Sky Demon Order. The more enemies the Blade 6 had, the more information their enemies would have on them. Do you know about the Sky Demon Order? Sorry? Yun Mun. Pyong seemed confused and puzzled by that question. It was as if he was listening to that name for the first time. You aren't pretending to not know? At the irritated voice, Yun Mun, Pyong waved his hands and denied it. No, why would I? This is my first time hearing it. Chun Yaowen's face darkened. He was concerned that the Sky Demon Order didn't exist in this time axis. At that time, Yun Mun, Pyong, who was constantly mumbling Sky Demon Order, seemed to remember something and asked, Senior, by any chance, are you talking about the Black Sky Company, which was dissolved 26 years ago? The organization which was once called the Demonic Cult. What? Chun Yaowen jumped at those words. If the word dissolve wasn't much different from what he understood, it meant that the Sky Demon Order was disbanded. Chun Yaowen looked at Yunmun, Pyong, and said, "Say that once again clearly." It was then a small vibration. Wake! The terminal, which was on the armrest, fell into someone's hand. The man in a jacket, Ho Zhong. Ha ha ha! Ha ha! He couldn't hide his joy as he recaptured the terminal, capable of detonating the nanobombs. He was waiting for the moment when Chun Yaowen would divert his attention. Reaching the Supermaster level, he wasn't as good as the two superior masters, but he could still control objects in the air. Ah! Both the director and the president couldn't hide their surprise. They didn't know that he could do such things. This is great. If the terminal was in their hands, they could just run away. The president shouted, "You did well. Ho Zhong, quickly." Crack! At that moment, an unexpected thing happened. The terminal, which was in Ho Zhong's hands, shattered into pieces. The president couldn't hide his shock. "You, what the hell did you do?" Without that, it would be impossible to detonate or even disarm the nanobombs. But now it was broken. Ho Zhong smiled at them. "Ha ha ha! How long did you think that I would obey your orders because of the nanobombs inside my body? What? In the end, there's nothing that a guy like me can do against people like you. When else would such a great opportunity arise for me? Now both of you will be aware of the pain of carrying nanobombs inside of your body." Everyone was shocked at those words. They thought that he was the most loyal person. That was why he was given the title of team leader. But now they saw a side of him that they didn't even know existed. Even Jiam Zhong. So was the same. This crazy bastard. It was something he heard about before being injected with a nanobomb. The only device which could control the signal code of the detonators in their bodies was the terminal. And now, the terminal was shattered. Without that, the nanobomb in the body can't be disarmed. Even if there was no way the bombs would explode, the risk of carrying bombs inside their bodies was still present. However, Ho Zhong was satisfied as he shouted, Hey, if even one person wants to survive in the hands of that monster, then I suggest you all run away, spread out. Fat!" With those words, he tried to run towards the window. Even if it was dangerous, he decided to break the window and jump. Running out of the office would get him caught by the monster once again. It was then. Snap! Snap! The sound of a snap echoed through the office. And then, pa-pa-pang! A red light rose from Ho Zhong's body, as if he was burning up, along with the sound of an explosion. How can this? When Jiam Zhong so opened his mouth in shock, Ho Zhong's charred body turned to ashes and collapsed. The nanobombs exploded. Yunman, Pyong had seen it in the demonstration video before receiving the nanobombs. The best thing about the nanobombs was that the explosion didn't cause damage to the surroundings and killed the host from the inside. He doesn't have the detonator, so how? Everyone looked at Chun Yaowen, who snapped his fingers. Nano's voice echoed in his head. Transmission of the copied detonator's black code has been completed. Nano had copied the 10 detonation codes. There was no need for a terminal anymore. Chun Yaowen turned his head to Yom Ki, Seop, who halfway stood up to run. Shit. Director Yunmun, Pyong, who was next to him, shouted, I didn't even move, Senior. Ep. 22. Unexpected news. 2. Chun Yaowen seemed pissed. As a result, everyone in the office was extremely attentive. The president was restless. When Ho Zhong stole the terminal, which could detonate the nanobombs, he too wanted to run away. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! But Ho Zhong was killed. As a result, there was nothing but the fear of death running through his mind. It was a pity to see his sweaty face. He must be really scared. Jiam Zhong so bit his tongue as if he was the president. They were completely broken. It was the same with Zhou Yu Seong, who was kneeling in the corner with a pale face. He showed it to us on purpose. Jiam Zhong so was sure. From the beginning, he was puzzled by the fact that no matter how strong the man was, he wasn't blocking their blood points. Even if the nanobombs were there were chances to run. Because variables can occur. It wasn't that Ho Zhong got the detonator, nor did he seize the opportunity. The man just gave it to him. The device couldn't be just taken away from such a monster. If one thought about it, it was strange to leave such an important object on the sofa's armrest. And with that, everyone found out. The fact that the nanobombs could be detonated without the terminal. What the hell? It wasn't sure what he did, but now this monster could detonate the nanobombs without the terminal. And with that, their reality looked even worse. Starting with the company's CAC TV, the security guards, the director, who is a superior master, and the hidden safe with 3 levels of security, that terminal couldn't be stolen, no matter how many times GM Zhong so thought. A monster that crushes everything with overwhelming force. That monster had control of the nanobombs. The Public Security Bureau ended up putting his life in the hands of an unknown person. GM Zhong. So's mind was messed up. Now, there are 2 ways. The Public Security Technical Team finds a way to disarm the bomb, or that monster in front of him disarms it. The former was the safest method. But, will they really do that? The Public Security Bureau doesn't want the public to learn that they've planted spies in companies out of fear of garnering a bad reputation. That was the reason why they used him, and not some official person of their bureau. It wouldn't be strange if they abandoned him. Should I try making a deal with that man, even if the risks are high? He looked at Chun Yewon, who sat at Yunmun. He was afraid of making a bad impression. Sigh. He doesn't have a bad face unlike Ho Zhong, but I'm terrified. When he looked at Chun Yewon, it was like an overwhelming force was being pushed onto him. If he did nothing, his life could be in jeopardy. Should I give up and trust the Public Security Bureau? No, rather than trusting them, I'll work something out. GM Zhong, who was worried, decided. The situation was a mess. It would be better to bet everything on this. Looking at his reaction, I might be able to give him information and strike a deal. GM Zhong. So's eyes shone as they looked at Chun Yewon. On the other hand, Chun Yewon was intently looking at the monitor. A lot of information was displayed. Simyang Daily, 2043. 7. Black Sky Company, one of China's 3 largest enterprises, collapses. After Chairman Chun Hyun Seong was arrested last year, the company's stock prices plunged to the bottom, and the executives of the Black Sky Company announced the dissolution of the company at noon today through their shareholders' meeting. 63 affiliates are already in the process of dismantling and merging, and the Chinese government expects this situation to cause serious economic turbulence. This article was from 26 years ago. In addition to that, several articles were reported as hot topics. Most of the articles said that the company's image was damaged and its stock price plummeted after the chairman's arrest. It doesn't make sense. The company disbanded after the chairman was sentenced to life in prison. It was too fast. Chun Yewon, who simply received the information, didn't think it made sense. Something is odd. The information seemed too fake. It was like something related to Murim had happened. A clear example was the next article. Founding of the State Council's Murim Department. Prime Minister Deng Ji-san, who announced the establishment of the new Murim. The first year's goal is to have more than 60 of Murim people register with the department. About 10 days after the Black Sky Company was disbanded, the registration of Murim started. This was the point where the line between the government and Murim was erased. Chun Yewon thought that it wasn't a mere coincidence. This is enough. He needed more information, but it was 26 years ago, and many things were missing. According to Nano, a lot of important data was deleted. Sigh. A sigh. Yun Mun. Pyong wanted to know what was happening, but he couldn't ask. He only knew about the current rival groups of the Blade 6. There was a limit to how much information he could get from his position. Useless bastard. Chun Yewon looked at him. Maybe he felt the eyes on him. Yunmun. Pyong trembled. Chun Yawen rested his chin on his hand as he thought. Even if it's a different time axis, the cult collapsed too easily. As the second Chun Mao and the Lord, he couldn't admit it. If it was the Sky Demon Order, he knew it couldn't fall to threats and crises. He never imagined how easy it would be for it to break up. There is only one answer. If the Sky Demon Order was in danger and disappeared, there was one thing he had to do. Find them. After reading the data for nearly 2 hours, Chun Yawen grasped the situation and got up as he organized his thoughts. Everyone in the office stared at him. That was when he called. Yunmun, Pyong. Yes, senior, he answered right away. For 2 hours, he was worried about what would happen to him. But now, Chun Yawen said something unexpected. Didn't you say that you have a position where you can talk with your superiors? Yes. Great. Then let the head office know that you hired the new one without any problems. Sorry, did you not understand what I said? As Chun Yawen asked, with his eyebrows raised. Yunmun. No. I will bury what happened here and make sure that it doesn't leak out. Chun Yawen nodded at that answer. Chun Yawen was going to cover this situation up so that the Blade 6 wouldn't notice it. You understand too? Yes. Even the president answered in the same way. He answered, but he couldn't erase his displeasure. I'm the president, so why is he acting like my superior? He was still annoyed with Yunmun, Pyong. No matter what he felt, Chun Yawen would go ahead with his plan. And now, Chun Yawen intends to use the Blade 6 and find traces of the Sky Demon Order. They don't know of my existence. If they do, I will completely destroy them this time. Everything is still unclear for now. However, the disappearance of his cult was certainly not a natural occurrence. He wasn't heartbroken, just determined. If I use this one properly, it will be worthwhile. Chun Yawen thought that as he looked at Yunmun, Pyong, the position he held could be used in many ways. Chun Yawen planned on using him till the end. As if he instinctively read something in Chun Yawen's eyes. Yunmun. Crackle. Chun Yawen pulled something out of his sleeve. A paper from the Blade 6. As a result of the requested investigation, the probability of a spy is 80. Team 7 should be removed. Secure the third team leader of the Violent Crime Squad, Moyoung Lee Myong, from February 23rd to 24, Gate 26. Warning is scheduled. Be sure to destroy the confidential internal data. Reviewing the report on the operation to assassinate the executive director of the Yon Company, which was taken to the upper level. Payment is due before Gate Warning 26. The directive to be followed. Chun Yawen noticed 2 things. He didn't pay attention to it before, but it seemed like the Moyoung family was involved. Good. If not, he would have had to search other places for information. If the descendants of the Moyoung clan were there, then they might have different information. It was written to secure someone of the Moyoung clan. Violent crimes, Chun Yawen called the name of the man who was obedient to him. Yunmun Pyong. Yes, senior. I need the best attire and human skin mask of this era. Yes? The director frowned. It was strange to call it this era, but he couldn't understand what a skin mask was. Aye. What is skin mask, senior? Human skin mask. It refers to a face mask made from human skin or a specific animal to disguise someone as another person. When he was in Merim, it was beneficial to Chun Yawen. Chun Yawen decided that he would need it to change his appearance because of the Public Security Bureau. You don't know what a human skin mask is. That was when someone intervened. Are you talking about something like cotton wool that you can put on your face? It was Jiamjong. So, Yunmun. Pyong nodded his head at those words. Chun Yawen roughly understood it. I want one. That, director. There's an expert that I know. Can I guide you? Jiamjong so intervened. This was a good opportunity for him. This is great. I was trying to create an opportunity. The director looked at Jium Jong, so with narrowed eyes. He knew that this kid was a spy of the Public Security Bureau, as it was in the orders and information given on the paper in the safe. He'd tried to warn him. That, senior, that one is. Yeah, I know. Tia. Of course, Chun Yaowen had looked at the paper too. There was no way he wouldn't know. But Chun Yaowen didn't care. He was planning on using public security to some extent too. It doesn't matter. I can take care of myself. Don't worry about it. Shh. I understand. Yun Man. Pyong nodded his head and backed off. And Chun Yaowen said to the young one, "Guide me." "Yes, I will guide you right away." Excited, Jium Jong so tried to guide him outside. He was already under suspicion, so he had to rush out. It was then. "Wait!" Yun Man. Pyong stopped him. "Damn it!" Jium Jong so stopped with a frown. It seemed like this wasn't going to be easy. His heart was pounding. "What?" Chun Yaowen, who was following Jium Jong, so asked Wen Yun Man, "Please accept this." "Huh?" "This is the corporate card. If you get tailored clothes and cut your hair, you might need this. You can use it as much as you want." Yun Man. Pyong was trying to please Chun Yaowen. Sigh. Jium Jong, so who was nervous, sighed. He was glad. He was worried that someone else would tell Chun Yaowen the truth, so he quickly guided them out of the building as soon as possible. Outside, a few blocks away, the RV of the dead Ho Jong was parked. "I'm good at driving." If he wasn't good at driving, he wouldn't have held the key. Then the key would have been destroyed when Ho Jong burnt. Like a secretary, he opened the door for Chun Yaowen and then got into the driver's seat. He needed to head to a place where he could have a conversation with Chun Yaowen. Esh! Jium Jong so moved towards the northern outskirts. He knew a place where neither the bureau nor the company would find him. After driving for about 30 minutes, Chun Yaowen, who was in the back seat, opened his mouth, seeing that the place had no buildings and very few people. "How far are we going to talk?" Jium Jong so looked at Chun Yaowen through the mirror. He didn't think that Chun Yaowen would recognize his intentions. He is good at catching stuff. He looked around. The place he was currently at had electric poles and very few people. This should be enough. Kick! He stopped the car on the side of the road. Jium Jong so turned his head to tell the truth, thinking that Chun Yaowen would let him off. "I apologize. I should have told you in advance." It was then. Woo! This. A black RV was seen rushing towards them at great speed through the rear window. No matter who looked at it, it seemed like they intended to hit this car. It was too late to start the car and step on the gas. So Jium Jong so shouted, "Yi, you need to get out right now." Such a hassle. At that time, Chun Yaowen swung his hand back and pushed something sideways. Bang! Woong! At that moment, the black RV that was about to hit them turned over and crashed. Ep 23. Unexpected news. 3. There was a black RV and a grey sedan tracking the white RV that Chun Yaowen was in. The people inside the two cars were pros at tracking. It was a good opportunity to seize the person they had been tracking and monitoring for nearly 3 months. Jium Jong. So and the 9th one are moving. The vehicle, which normally moved on busy roads, wasn't easy to track as it calls for a lot of attention. But then, this car went to a place with fewer people. And the place the white RV was heading didn't have many CCTV cameras. Kick. In addition, the vehicle just stopped. The team leader in the grey sedan spoke as he pressed the earphone in his left ear. "We have a nice chance. What should we do?" And a voice answered. "Click. Capture and bring them here." Understood. When the order fell, the team leader spoke while pressing his earphone again. "Hit them." "Roger." The black RAV ahead of them. accelerated and rushed for the parked white RV as soon as the command was issued. "Get ready!" "Yeah. Yes." Click, click. Except for the driver, 4 men in the sedan pulled out guns with silencers. They were guns with anesthetic bullets. Shoot as soon as they get out of the car. Yes. Even if they hit the parked car, since the ones inside were Murim warriors, they knew they could come out without injuries. It was then. Bang Wong! The black RV rushing head suddenly flipped over. It happened before they could crash into the white RV. The car flipped. What the hell? They weren't sure what was happening, but their targets had to be brought in. Step on it. The shocked driver stepped on the gas at the order. Brang! When the speed of the car increased, it was ready to collide with the white RV. Ki-ik! The sedan came to a sudden stop. Thanks to the sudden stop, the people inside ended up banging into the front seats and the dashboard. Crazy bastard! What the fuck are you doing? At the man's yelling, the driver turned his head in a bewildered expression and said, It wasn't me. What? My foot is on the gas. What? Whoa. Oh. Smoke was rising from the rear wheels of the vehicle. It was a situation where the rubber tires were burning up as the wheels were rotating, but the vehicle wasn't moving ahead. Everyone inside was shocked. Their vehicle, which was moving so fast, was stopped by some unknown energy. Damn it! The leader knew that something strange was happening. Get out of the K. Before he could finish speaking, the black seat door of the white RV opened and someone got out. The dress one would see in historical dramas and long black hair. Their target, Chun Yawen. The 9th one. Chun Yawen reached out to the sedan they were in. They wondered what was going to happen and tried to get out of the car. However, rumble, clack! Leader, the door isn't opening. It was the same for the leader who was about to open the door. He tried to push the door open, but it didn't even budge. That was when the leader shouted, "Break the bloody windows!" If the doors didn't open, then they had to get out by breaking the window. It was then. Chun Yawen grabbed something, and Kiik, whack. The sedan started crushing, like a toy being crushed inside a hand. Gra. In an instant, the sedan lost its shape. Jiam Jong, who got out of the driver's seat, was shocked. He was shocked when the car flipped over, but compressing a car was ridiculous. No, how? It was a sight that left him speechless. Of course, the car was made of metal, and the inside was well equipped to prevent passenger injuries. Still, it was shocking. He isn't human. He's a monster, just like the dead Hojong said. He couldn't even fathom how profound the man's energy had to be to do such a thing. Chun Yawen heard. Catch them! 2 people managed to escape from the vehicle. It was one of the people sitting in the back seat and the leader. They managed to escape after breaking the windows, but both of their faces were pale. Is he testing their skills? Jiam Jong, who guessed Chun Yawen's intentions, looked at them. One seemed to be at the Supermaster level, and the other was at the beginning of the Supermaster level. It was a level that wasn't easy to handle. Still, it isn't like he can't suppress them. He turned his head and slightly looked at him. It's impossible for them to hide their skills from that monster. So attack from the start. Fat! Jiung Jong rushed to them. He moved at an excellent speed, which ended up making him a recruit for the Blade 6 Company. Damn it! Puck! Fuck! The leader fired his gun, which had a silencer on it. However, Jiung Jong, who was paying close attention to the path, avoided them at the speed of lightning. Tatatak, the martial art of Jiam Jong. Was boxing. Papak. Likewise, he too seemed to be a close combat warrior, and he seemed to have more experience, as he was able to block Jium Jong. He is pretty good. Despite being an enemy, he possessed commendable skills. However, because there was a fundamental difference in close combat martial arts, The longer the battle went on, the more advantageous the attacker would be. The gap! Jeong-jong, who noticed the gap in the leader's defense, tried to hit him. It was then he felt something sharp pierce him. Ah! Jeong-jong widened the distance right away. One more of the men who got out had hit him. It was a short knife, like a dagger, which could be covered by a hand. Shit! He thought that the situation could be handled, but it was becoming more annoying. As Jeong-jong widened the distance, the two of them took a formation. Clearly, both of them used the same kind of martial art. Damn it! Does that mean they want to deal with the weaker one first? The fact that they weren't rushing in to attack the stronger one gave Jeong-jong the answer. It seemed that his plan to suppress the pursuers and impress Chun Yaowen was failing. Jeong-jong glanced back. How? It was shocking. 6 men were lying on the ground around Chun Yaowen. It seemed like the people in the black RV had come out and tried to deal with him. He's a real monster. Meeting Chun Yaowen's level would be hard. Jeong-jong bit his lip. Sigh. I was told not to use it unless I'm in a crisis. It seemed like he had to resort to something in order to quickly subdue the 2 men who were trying to catch him. That, the leader, who thought that the man could be dealt with if he responded cautiously, moved. However, Jeong-jong's movements, which were close to boxing, changed. He was pretending to use boxing when he kicked. Since the man kept switching, the leader tried to block the attacks. Papa-pak. Quack. In an instant, Jeong-jong kicked the leader's chest and chin. The other man tried to help his leader, but Jeong-jong's movements were faster. How dare you! Tack! Quack. Jeong-jong jumped into the air and hit the man's head with a kick. Since it was a kick with the strength of a late supermaster, there was no way he could endure it. With a scream, his neck broke as he collapsed. Damn it! How did his level change? The leader, who staggered from internal injuries, stared at Jeong-jong. Even when they collided for the first time, it seemed like his level was the same as Jeong-jong's. But from the moment Jeong-jong changed something about his attack pattern, everything changed. Quack! You hid your skills, sly bastard. Wah! Do you get it? A voice came from the earphone. He could tell what the message meant just by listening to the sighing voice on the other side. Since the pursuit failed, there was only one thing they could do. Clench. Jeong-jong grabbed the collar of the collapsed man with his left hand and tried to lift him up. And the leader bit his molars. Crack! This jerk! When he heard the sound of something cracking inside the mouth, Jeong-jong was shocked and tried to seal the blood points. Ta-ta-tak. However, it was too late. The leader looked at him with bloodshot eyes. It is too late. You won't be able to figure anything out. If the liquid inside the capsule stuck on the molars is swallowed, the man would lose his life in 10 seconds. Even the earphone connected to the ear was designed to automatically format its frequency if the body's energy disappears or if the earphone is taken out. Drip! It was only 3 to 4 seconds before the strong poison began to work, as blood came out of his mouth. Jeong-jong frowned at the body's convulsions. Damn it! If his blood points were sealed even a second earlier, he could have questioned him. It was then. Hold him. Ha! Tack! At that moment, Chun Yaowen approached and placed his hand near the dying leader's dantian. A tremendous amount of internal energy rushed into his dantian. Quack! Quack! The eyes of the leader, who was distracted by the pure energy, opened wide as the poison was temporarily suppressed. 3 more seconds, and he would have seen the underworld. Chun Yaowen's other hand went to the earphone in the left ear. The leader laughed. Stupid. Man, if you take it. Out my ear. No use. There was no way the original source could be tracked. What could these 2 people do? Besides, everything would be formatted if the device was removed from the ear. Ja-jake, quack, quack. Suddenly, the earphone in the left ear stung, and 5 seconds later, the words from Chun Yaowen's mouth startled the dying man. Yaowen Company, Moyong Clan. The leader's eyes widened. It was the same with Moyong Yi, son, who was in a dark room inside the headquarters of the Yaowen Company, several kilometers away. Ka. Moyong Yi, son, who thought the mission failed, tried to turn off the speaker while drenched in disappointment that he lost a useful tracker. Then he heard a voice coming through. Ow, how? The voice continued to enter his bewildered ears. Let's meet soon. Quack! Beep! With that, the sound was entirely cut off, as if the earphone was broken. Shocked, Moyong Yi, son, was unable to move away for a while. Thud! Jiam Jung, so who moved the dead bodies into a pit he dug, bit his lip. He wondered if he would be surprised anymore. This man wasn't a cyborg like he saw in movies, but he never imagined that a person could trace a frequency by putting their hand on an earphone. Who is this person? This man was no longer a warrior who stayed hidden. Now he was wondering if Chun Yaowen was a hidden agent created by the Chinese government or some top-secret group. This is insane. He was scared. His heart was troubled. As he pondered, he shook his head and opened the lid of something next to him. A foul odor wafted out. Inside, the barrel was sulfuric acid. Although they were on the outskirts, they couldn't abandon dead bodies. Fortunately, Ho Zhong was the kind to carry such things with him. Sulfuric acid was one of them. Drop! Drop! All the acid was poured into the pit where the bodies were collected. The reaction was so fast that the bodies immediately melted. Frowning, he turned around. After taking care of everything which could be traced back to them, he got into the car. Jiam Jong, so spoke to Chun Yaowen, who was sitting in the back seat. For now, getting away from here is best. They couldn't stay there any longer, not after what they had done. Jiam Jong, so started the engine. It was around 20 minutes after they started driving. Chun Yaowen, who hadn't said a single word, spoke. We have come quite far. Now start revealing your identity. Damn it! Jiam Jong so frowned. It looked like Chun Yaowen knew something about his identity. Did Yun Mun Pyong say something? It seemed like Yun Mun Pyong had sent a message to him before they left. Maybe he knew his connection with the Public Security Bureau. As he contemplated how to explain it, an unexpected question came out of Chun Yaowen's mouth. You, where did you learn that martial arts? Sorry? Jiam Jong so stuttered at the unexpected question. What do you mean? He didn't think that he would be asked such a question. Even in Murim, people don't ask about another person's martial arts unless they are close. To him, who was bewildered, Chun Yaowen said, Stop acting like that. The martial arts that you unfolded back there belong to the Sky Demon Order's pure Kick clan. Jiam Jong So's eyes trembled at those words.